Hi everybody, I'm Dr. John Douillard, and today I want to talk about, I think, something really important, and it's walking after we eat our food. Probably the most dangerous thing we can do is actually eat a big meal and then go sit on the couch and watch a movie. And the science is overwhelming. And this is a technique in Ayurveda called Shata Pravali, which means, Shata means 100, Pravali means to walk. It means to take 100 steps after you eat the meal. Now, the science suggests that we can take a lot more of that and create great benefit. And I've written an article about this at LifeSpa.com. You can go check that out and read all the science. But it's really important because when you eat a meal, what happens is your blood pressure levels rise and your heart level rises to kind of get all that food circulating through these little channels, right? It's like getting on a crowded freeway in LA. You throw on an on-ramp and trying to jam yourself into an already congested 5-lane highway, and how difficult it is to kind of get in there, and then creates traffic and things block up. That's exactly what happens inside of our arteries, and how dangerous it is for us to just be stuck in traffic and just sit there. But when you actually, and what happens is that if you don't move, there's an increased risk of clotting inside your arterial wall. There's an increased risk of endothelial stress, the stress on the lining of your arteries, and it puts a huge burden on the heart because the heart has to pump to get all those cars, through the highway, through the traffic. It becomes very, very stressful. Now, what's also really cool about exercise after you eat, going for a walk after you eat, is the impact it has on blood sugar. The epidemic of our time is high blood sugar. This is an absolute fact. Now, and one of the measurements that we use to determine the dangers of high blood sugar is what happens after you eat your food. It's called a 2-hour postprandial blood sugar test. So you take your blood sugar about 2 hours or even 3 hours after you eat the meal, and you want to make sure those numbers are really good to be under 140, or actually I should say good is under 140 nanograms per milliliter, but really good is under 120 after 2 hours, or 125. That's where you kind of want to sort of be. And the research shows that the most accurate information about heart and cardiovascular health from a blood sugar perspective is the 2-hour after the meal test. What happens when the blood sugar goes up after the meal, and then how quickly does it come back down? That shows how efficient you are at dumping the impurities or the sugar into your cells. Now, there's a thing called insulin resistance, where the body, as we get older, gets reluctant to take in so much sugar into the cells, and the sugar lingers in your blood longer than it should, and it glycates, sticks to proteins, it clumps, creates damage. It's kind of the smoky gun for many inflammatory degenerative concerns, and it's a very real phenomenon. But here's the coolest part, when you go for a walk or exercise after a meal, you don't need insulin to drive the energy into the cells. The skeletal muscles directly take, through a receptor called the GLUT4 receptor, take the sugar directly from the blood into the cells, into your muscles to activate the muscle. Completely bypasses insulin. Insulin is inflammatory. It's a growth hormone. And you don't want a lot of insulin. That's a problem. It's damaging. So when you actually go for a walk, all that sugar just goes directly. Doesn't pass go. It gets his $200 and boom, right to your muscles, which is really cool science. Is why the benefits of exercising and going for a walk after the meal are so important. They did a study, and they found that they took about 41 different type 2 diabetics, and they had one group, they would walk for 10 minutes after the meal, and another group would just walk 30 minutes a day. And they measured the 2-hour after meal blood sugar. And the one that walked 10 minutes after the meal had significantly greater benefit than walking for 30 minutes. So if you're looking to help stabilize your blood sugar after you eat your food, get on a treadmill, get on an exercise bike, get outside, go for a walk, and start to move all those cars through traffic so it doesn't clog up and clot within your arteries and create damage, which is really important. Studies also show that it also lowers your triglycerides. They found that hours after the meal, triglycerides are significantly lower, which is an independent risk factor for heart disease, when you go for a walk after the meal. Other studies show that it actually helps your stomach empty faster. It helps to massage your stomach and helps it empty faster. Something in Ayurveda we treat all the time is called udvarta, upward moving digestion, which means your digestion is moving in the up direction as opposed to down. And that's in Western medicine, that's called gastroparesis, where the food stays in the stomach too long. And that can create heartburn, indigestion, GERD. It affect the function of your diaphragm, how you breathe. I mean, the list of how that affects your lymphatic system, it just goes on and on and on when the digestion is pushing up instead of down. And when you go for a walk, you actually help the stomach release the food in a timely manner. Gastroparesis is when the food stays in your stomach too long. And that is when bad things begin to happen. The acid builds up. It creates acidity, GERD, reflux, opportunistic bacteria like H. pylori can infiltrate. Your stomach can get sick of all the acid and say, I'm just going to stop making acid. And all of a sudden, you can't digest hard to digest foods like wheat and dairy and lectins and nuts and seeds, and then you blame it on the food. That's how it works. So not that walking after a meal is going to cure all of that, but it's a very important preventative that when you, after you eat your meal, you take, and this is the Ayurvedic way to do it. After you eat your meal, you eat it in a relaxed way. Take a little time to rest, either sit and chat and just be calm for a spell. Like your dog would eat a meal, they would go lie down and then they would go for a walk and then usually move their bowels, right? That would be the ideal thing for us to do as well. Have a nice relaxing meal, take a 15-minute rest, sometimes even lying on your left side. That's the old siesta thing. Stomach sort of hangs like that, and the stomach can actually now move the food out in a very easy manner when it's ready. Then you go for a walk and you begin to finish the emptying of the stomach, facilitate, an efficiency of the cardiovascular system to move all the food through the traffic so we don't get any clots or irritation or increased blood pressure as a result of the food, or arterial damage for that matter. And then of course you end up with significantly lower blood sugar because you're actually dumping the sugar directly into your muscles because you're asking them, they're asking at this point for their fuel. And the bloodstream delivers that fuel that you just ate directly into those tissues. So please take a nice relaxing meal, take a little bit of a rest, and then go for a walk. Don't miss out on that. The worst thing we can do is eat a big meal and go sit down on the couch and watch TV. Get a little exercise bike, get a little stair stepper, you can get them, and just stair step. They've got these little ones for $80. What I got, my wife and I got each other for Christmas, we got a little walking machine that we have in our living room. So after a meal, if it's cold and snow outside, we just get on the little treadmill. It's not even like a treadmill, it's just a walking mat that's super simple and super low profile. You don't even see it. But it's a really cool thing that we love because we actually, after a meal, one of us or both of us, take turns and get on that thing. It's just a great thing to have in your house to make sure that you're getting the walking that you need to get that food delivered into the cells and not let it linger in your bloodstream. Okay, it's called Shatapavali in Ayurveda. It means 100 steps after a meal. At the very least, take those. But a good 10 to 30-minute walk is ideal. The studies on how long you should do it are sort of all over the place. And I write about that in the article. The bottom line is just go for a walk. If it's 10 minutes, fantastic. If it's a half an hour, fantastic. If you have time for an hour walk, even better. But get out there and move. All right, thanks for listening. I'll see you next week. I'm Dr. John Douillard.